too.
Really?
Yeah. So we're actually live now?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
So it looks like we got somebody here who just joined us.
The Northwestern Central Railroad.
Hope tonight's live stream goes great, and that it definitely will.
And thank you for having me here on the Railchief 74 YouTube channel.
My pleasure.
It's always great to meet other YouTube channels such as yourself and out at train shows or on live shows. So I always enjoy the interaction and also promoting other YouTube channels. So make sure you guys who are watching this, you subscribe to Railchief 74 here. Does a really nice job of promoting, layouts and traditional layouts and stuff like that. So I really like what he's doing, and I do watch other channels, including him. So you're getting a Dakman certification.
Most definitely.
And so what you want to do here? You want to wait for a couple other people to come aboard?
Yeah.
Okay.
So far on my end, we only have probably like 3 people joining us. So might not be a bad idea to wait at least maybe a couple more minutes before we get on with the rest of the video.
Oh, that's fine. So you plan on going to any shows here?
You mean like the Edison and Greenberg show that's coming up?
Yeah, Greenberg or maybe the Allentown one. We got quite a few shows coming up this whole entire month. I mean, it's just quite a few shows coming up.
So me and my dad are no stranger. We're kind of like no strangers to the Edison, Greenberg shows. But, because New Jersey was kind of getting very expensive for us to keep living in that area, we had to, we kind of had no choice but to move out after a while. So we ended up moving down here to Lewis, Delaware, about 2 years ago.
Oh, okay. So you guys go to the Greenberg show in Delaware?
Well, we know a little bit about it, but the only unfortunate part about that is that let me start that again. The only kind of bad part about that Greenberg show is that it's all the way up in Wilmington, and
Yeah.
from what we kind of heard, Wilmington isn't really, it's not really considered to be the best type of area to be in because there's a small part of Wilmington that's kind of good, and the other part of it has a little bit of a bad history when it comes to crime going on down there. So it's always, a good thing to be safe than sorry.
Oh yeah, I've been to that show quite a few times, and I'm not afraid to go there. So I would recommend at least 1 or 2 visits there.
How is the area though that the show is located in?
It's a pretty good area, actually. It's in a waterfront. It's a nice area. I never had any problems. It's a great area.
Hmm.
It's not like you're going to see burned out buildings and stuff like that. That's what you're thinking. No, it's in the waterfront. It's at the Chase Center, and great facility too. I mean, it's not as big as Edison, but what's nice about it is you like any train show, you never know what's going to be there until you go there.
That is true. And
Yeah.
also considering that me and my dad went up to the October York train show just about like 2.5 weeks ago, we're all both of us are kind of like trained out as far as spending money goes. So I think probably for the rest of the year we're going to give the collecting aspect a little bit of a break, and then hopefully once the New York let me start that again. Once the New Year starts coming around, maybe we'll start to reconsider, picking up some new items along the way.
Well, I would highly recommend, even though if you don't want to buy anything, to hit Edison because the Raritan Valley High Railers are going to be there, and Matt worked really hard on creating new modules for the layouts for the Raritan Valley High Railers layout, and it's going to be a great, it's going to be a great thing to see once he, gets it all together. Because I don't know if you, the viewers or you have been following my behind the scenes with the Raritan Valley High Railers, but he's been building this coal facility all summer long.
Mhm.
So what you got is you have a train that's going to deliver coal to a power plant. So it's actually going to come into a. He's got these hopper cars. It actually loads it up with real coal with a coal flow loader. It comes out of the coal flow loader, and then he's got these misters that actually spray smoke. So it looks like it's really misting the coal to keep the dust down. So as it's coming through this coal mister, it's misting the coal to keep the dust down. And then after it goes to there, he actually delivers it to uh, the power plant, which has a rotary coal dumper. So he's dumping the coal at the power plant, and he just continues the cycle. It's just a cool thing that he's built.
So it's
Uh,
kind of like a kid is, what you're saying then.
he actually scratch built all this, except
Really?
for except for the rotary coal dump. I mean, the coal flow loader is totally his design.
Oh,
Uh,
so it's not a kit then. It's 100% a scratch built then.
oh yeah, Matt's a big scratch builder. Matt scratch builds everything. He doesn't do anything from a kit, nothing, and he strives on that because he wanted to have something different, something that nobody else has, something that nobody would have on their layout, and that's why he goes ahead and he builds all this from scratch. I mean, everything on the Raritan Valley High Railers layout is all scratch, with the exception of the rotary coal dump. But the coal flow loader is totally his design. Matter of fact, him and Millhouse River Studios have actually been going back and forth with ideas on designs because Al over at Millhouse River Studios was also working on a coal flow loader during the summertime to have as a product already built and you put it on your layout. And so they would go back and forth about ideas. Well, how did you do this and how did you do that? And they exchanged ideas, and it was very cool because Matt is a one-off and he's not interested in production, so he didn't mind sharing ideas with Al. And that's what the hobby's all about: sharing ideas, so you can bring different things and different products to people.
I couldn't have said that better myself. And as far as scratch building anything on my layout goes, I would probably say that there's only like one building that I've ever scratch built, not from like a picture or anything. It was just mostly something that came off at the top of my head. And I'm not really too sure if you ever watched any of my old videos, but there is like a tutorial that I made where I kind of, came up with a custom build blockbuster building that I just made out of craft foam and woodland scenics. Um, whatchamacallit, that plug-in lighting system.
Oh yeah,
The name of it kind of begs me at the moment, but it's all the whole building is just made out of like plain old styrofoam and other materials that I mentioned. And I also put not only did I put little people inside there too, but I also put in like little mock-up whatchamacallit, shelving, for like videotapes and such. And I also
yeah.
got like little posters along the walls and such. So it's not like you're just looking into the building and seeing like a little flat piece of cardboard with printing on it. It's a building, but you really do see a lot of the detail that's inside.
Oh, that's cool. And there's nothing wrong with I have one scratch built building too because I was always afraid to make one on my own. And Matt was one of the people that actually pushed me. He says, Sean, even if it's not nothing's perfect, he goes, give it a shot. And I always wanted a corn syrup transfer facility after I had seen one on the internet. And I'm like, that's what I want to do. And I knew nobody was going to ever make it in O-Gauge. So I said, this is my shot right here to do a corn syrup transfer facility. And that was my first time ever scratch building. Is it perfect? No, but it's something that I've done, and I can always improve on it. And that's why when I go to Matt over in his studios, because that's where I do all the behind the scenes filming. I always ask him different things of how he did this and how he did that, and he's a mastermind when it comes to using different materials and stuff. I mean, if you want to scratch build something, what I do for those videos behind the scenes is every product he mentions in the video, I will have the name of the product, like Evans Designs, and there'll be a website. So you can actually go into those videos, and everything that he mentions, you can actually click on, and it'll take you to that website, so you can buy
Very nice.
it. So that's one of my favorite things to video is behind the scenes with him. He just makes it so easy. He's like easy going. He's always talking, and he's very knowledgeable. It's just wonderful to do that kind of video with him.
Very cool. All right. So with that being said, I'm just going to go ahead and take a look at some of the comments that we have here so far.
Okay.
We have DT Shortline Railway, who just joined us in tonight. How's it going?
Hey, how's it going?
We have the Northwestern Central Railroad, who just joined in. How's everybody doing tonight? What's going on, Dave?
Approximately, I would like to answer this.
Sure.
Approximately, how big is Edison Train Show on average? All right, so it depends on the time that you're going. So the next Edison show is Thanksgiving weekend, and I'm going to tell you that's going to be the biggest, most crowded show of all season. Now, if you go during the summertime, it's kind of light, not many vendors, but Thanksgiving weekend, oh yeah, it'll be lined out the door. There'll be mobs of people. There's be tons of vendors. HO, O gauge, S gauge, you name it. There'll be layouts there. I know for sure the Raritan Valley High Railers will be there.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, whenever me and my dad used to go to those Greenberg shows, we'd always see their module layout over there.
But also remember, the Greenberg train show is under new ownership, which a lot of people don't know that.
Really?
So, yeah. So they got the problem is the current owner, well, not the current owner, but the previous owner got into a health situation, so it was sold during the summertime, and so he stuck around to help the new owners, with the show, giving them points and stuff. But it is under new ownership, so there might be a couple of bumps and stuff, but give them a little bit of leadway, and they'll be okay.
Nice. Though it's funny because the way that you mentioned that, it almost sounds similar to what they did with the Choo Choo Barn. I think the original owner passed away a little while back, and they had somebody new to take over for them.
Yeah, and they were actually promoting that at the York Train Show.
Oh yeah, yes, that's right. I do remember. I think they were in the they were outside the Orange Hall, right near where the cafeteria is, I believe.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
And since we're on the subject, I actually do have a question for you, Sean, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
So I understand that you do like to take a lot of video and photography while you're at the show, but how long have you been doing? How long you've been doing that gig for?
Well, I have been on YouTube since 2010, and I decided about 2011, I was thinking about getting into doing train shows. And at the time, I was only doing club layouts. And I really didn't get into doing train show tours until maybe about 5 or 6 years ago, because I'm like, I'm doing these layouts, but I was thinking in my mind, people would like to see what else is there besides the layouts. So and that really took off for me. But I'm going to tell you right now, for those who are thinking about doing something like that, that is a ton of work, a ton. So like I'll be at Allentown this weekend to give you an idea. I'll wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning to get to the show at 8 a.m. I'll be there until about 4 p.m. and I won't be home until about 6 p.m. On the way home, I'll grab something to eat because by the time I get home, I got to organize the files and all that stuff into a way where my goal is to at least put out one, even if it's a short one video the day after the show. So I'm up until about 10 or 11 before I go to bed.
Hmm. And from what I also kind of understand is that if you try to, if you even if you want to take like a small video or something or a picture, it seems to be okay in the Orange Hall, but all the other facilities seem to be off limits.
As far as the TCA, I've been in direct contact with them because I am their official videographer for the last 3 shows, and they wanted my feedback. I'm like, look, you guys got to change some things around if you want to get this going and get more people in. So they're actually listening, and supposedly, I don't want to say too much, but we're in the talks of opening up other halls to videos and photography besides the Orange Hall. But yeah, typically it was the Orange Hall, the Purple Hall, which was the layouts, and the Black Hall, which was the standard gauge. But as far as like the blue, the silver, the white, and the red, they were all off limits. Even though there was people in there shooting videos and photos anyway. If the hall captains catch you, they will toss you out of the building. You will get a warning.
Oh man.
Yeah, so it's a very risky thing, and I promised them that I would follow the rules, so that's why you'll never see me going into the blue hole and film. Even as an official videographer, I still have to follow the rules. But in spring they're talking about opening up more halls to the photos and videos, so they're finally realizing that they have to have a little bit of leniency here with some of the rules. We're there to have fun and take pictures and talk,
Right.
And it looks like it's heading that way. Hopefully, and that'll be the final decision because everything has to get approved by the TCA board when they change something or they make modifications.
Definitely.
I think that it'll get pushed through, quite honestly.
And I think it also does kind of make sense from like a business perspective, because let's say hypothetically you might be in the movie business or like a fast food, running business. You don't want to keep, too many things exclusive. You might want to like give a little sneak peek of something, but
Right.
you don't really want to give too much away at the same time.
Yeah. And they realize, the photos and videos that I do come out after the show. So if you still want to, it's always great to see a show in person, but also in the same token, they realize, not everybody's going to be able to make it to that show. So, for instance, if you live out in, Washington State, it would be too expensive to fly out and visit the show. So, people get to see what that show is all about through videos that the YouTubers do. So that's always important. And the best thing is I believe that, especially for the vendors, I think it helps them out a lot. Because let's say, not necessarily the TCA, but any show they go to and they don't do as well as they thought they would, and they come home, and next thing they know, they're getting phone calls because people had seen something they wanted on the video. So that keeps them, I think that keeps them coming back to the shows if they do bad or they don't sell as well, knowing that, well, maybe it'll get on video and we'll sell it that way.
That's true.
Yeah.
I definitely 100% agree with that.
Yeah. So we all have to, stick together and keep the hobby going. We got to help the vendors and help the show organizers and the hobby shops, and that's how I feel. That's why I do what I do.
Mm-hmm. And that's also just like with the how it should be for society today. And I don't want to bring up any politics or any type of shenanigans in videos like this. I don't really do that. I'm mostly just here to talk about the world's greatest hobby, just like you, me, and everybody else always love. So, just like I mentioned with society today, we shouldn't be really going up. We shouldn't be really like jumping down each other's throats or fighting with each other. We as not only just like a what's the word I'm looking for? It's starting to come to me. Just bear with me for a second.
It's all right. It's all right.
Like a team, we all, not only do we want to be like a bunch of team players, but I think we all should really start, coming together and start working with each other for a change, instead of just complaining or bickering about who has like the better pile of merchandises, who has the better stores out there, or who has the better product out there, period.
Well, I'll put it this way. Everybody's got their pick and choice of what they like, and I'll put it in an automobile way. So, like, there's people who like Ford, people like Chevy, people like Dodge. They may not like the Ford product, so they buy the Chevy. So, there's something out there for everybody. In the world of O-gauge trains, everybody's got their thing, and just because you don't like something doesn't mean you should be down on it,
or bashing about the
right,
actual
yeah. I mean, there's certain things I don't run, but you'll never hear me in any of my videos stomp on it. But my reviews, I'm pretty, I'm honest about them. If there's something I don't like or I think that can be improved, I'll mention that, but I won't bash up on the manufacturer for it.
Or if you might be like a really big sports fanatic, there's always a competition of who's better. Either if you're a Mets fan or a Yankees fan or a Red Sox fan or a Phillies fan, or like you mentioned with the automobiles and such, somebody might be a fan of Ford or Chevy or Equinox. There's always like a plate of pie for anybody who might have an interest in something.
Right. Yeah. So there's a wide variety of things. If you don't like command controls, great. There's Williams trains out there. Menards has been putting stuff out. You can still buy the old. I'm surprised that many more people have not gotten into MPC that don't have a lot of money. Because let me tell you, if your funds, if you can't afford legacy and scale trains and stuff like that, I mean, you can buy MPC era line out stuff so cheap right now. It's not even funny. I mean, you can buy rolling stock anywhere from $7 to $15 all day long. It's like crazy. You can have quite a bit of.
Well, I know that there actually is a couple of NPC fanatics on Instagram and Facebook, such as my friend Brandon, who has his channel, I Want My NPC. 95 to at least 100% of his items are all NPC related.
Oh, wow. And I grew up with it as a kid. My first train set was in 1976. I got it for Christmas under the tree. And it was just a Lionel 027 switcher set. And that's how I got started. And then my parents were very poor. They didn't make a lot of money. My dad worked 2 jobs. My mom worked part-time. So it was hard for them to save money, but still I got, I was able to get one train car every year to add to the set. And they would always take me along to the hobby shop, and I would pick out something. It was always something colorful. And, I still have all that stuff,
Who doesn't?
Yeah. And, it may not be worth a whole lot, but to me, it's a lot of memories and stuff that I just can't give up on that. Yeah, the MPC era was a fun and colorful time, in my opinion.
Sure was. Even though some of the changes that they might have made to half of their equipment might not be as reliable as some of the older post-war stuff.
Yeah,
but I would still say they still managed to put out a really decent amount of quality into their product.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, there was like you had some of the stuff in the '80s that had the DC cam motors, which weren't that great, but for the most part, stuff with magnet traction. Yeah, I mean, like the MPC era GG1 is just about the same as a post-war version. MPC era FM Trainmaster with magnet traction dual motors. I mean, not much has changed other than it doesn't use a battery like they did in the post-war version.
Or the 611 Norfolk and Western set from 1981.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. That is a good one. I wouldn't mind having that myself.
Me neither. Also, as a matter of fact, we actually I'm actually a member of the Seaside Model Railroaders Club in Selbyville, Delaware, and we actually have an original Lionel post-war 736 Norfolk and Western on our layout. Well, maybe not necessarily on our layout all the time, but we do have it on the back shelves with a lot of the other locomotives that we run at the clubhouse.
Wow.
And to this day, I'm still trying to convince the guys, if you all don't have any use for that 746, I'd be glad to take it off your guys' hands.
But like you said, there is something for everybody out there. I mean, you go to Edison Train Show, and as that person was asking, I mean, you can find post-war, you can find MPC era. If you like the modern Lionel, MTH, if you're an HO person, there's quite a bit of HO out there too. N scale, there's a lot to pick from.
Okay, we got somebody wishing us a happy Thursday. Happy Thursday to you too.
Hey, Radar. I recognize him. Slag Cat. That's another person I know.
Looks like Dave over here is trying to keep track of everybody that's joining in with us tonight.
All right, great.
Thank you, Dave. Okay, I got a question over here from TD Shoreline that mentions, is York the biggest show on the East Coast area?
I believe it is. I mean, there's another show up in the Chicago area. The name escapes me. I think it's Train Fest, but between the both of them, yeah, I think it's the biggest show on the East Coast. York has, let's see, 5 different buildings. You got the orange, red, white, purple, and then the black hall, that's 5, and then the blue and the silver is the same hall, so that's 6. So you got 6 buildings full of nothing but trains to look through, so it's pretty big. Now, the show that's coming up this weekend, the Allentown Train Show, for those of you who like O gauge, one of the vendors that I know pretty well put it, in a way that's kind of true. He calls the Allentown Train Show the Junior York Show, and if you go back and look at my past videos from Allentown, you'll find out why. So, it's a big, huge building that's split up into 2 sections, and it's just chock full of O gauge. I mean, there's HO in there, but I would say 90% of what's there is O gauge, and there's just a lot of it. So again, if you're looking for, and you got your big vendors that are going to be there. So you got Just Trains is going to be there. Grabowski's is going to be there.
Nice.
Yeah. Trains and Things from Ewing, New Jersey will be there. Smaller vendors like Tony GG1. So there's a lot of vendors that you seen in York that's going to be at Allentown too. So it's Allentown's always a good time, meeting up with friends and stuff like that. So sometimes there's layouts there. I do know the Strasburg Railroad Club is going to be there, the HO Club, and I'm not sure what other club layouts will be there, but usually there's like at least 2 or 3. The North Penn O gauges were there in the spring.
We usually have at least 4 to 5 different layouts in our clubhouse. I mean, Uh, yeah, about like at least 4 or 5. We have the O gauge layout, which is our main biggest layout in the entire lobby. We also have an S gauge layout, which is not as big as the O scale layout that we have, but it is still a pretty big sized, S scale type of track configuration. And then we also have an N scale layout again, which is also in the main lobby of our building. And then in the other room next to it, we have a giant G scale layout, and then we also have an HO layout for a lot of the HO fanatics.
Wow. So you got a lot going on.
The one layout that I really wish that we did had, which is not really covered, which is technically a gauge that's not really talked about, a whole lot lately, ever since MTH kind of lost the rights to, that would have to be standard gauge, because I feel like standard gauge isn't really gaining that much traction like it used to be.
Yeah, I noticed that myself. I mean, it's you very rarely see people getting into that. I mean, it is a niche thing, as far as the template stuff. Um, but it is cool in its own way. I did take video of the standard gauge club when they were out there at York, and it's always a great layout to see. I mean, they had a huge standard gauge layout.
Hmm.
And a lot of those trains that they had on their layout were custom built. Um, so it was cool to see all that.
And the best of my memory, I think that some of the other locomotives and other pieces of rolling stock were also custom made too. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. So there's guys there that have. I mean, they got basically their own machine shops in their homes. They got lathes, they got milling machines and stuff like that, so they can make all these wonderful pieces. I mean, one guy made the original B&O Camelback
Hmm.
that's in the B&O Railroad Museum. The original design.
Hmm.
So it was, and they had two different versions of it. There was a freight one there and a passenger one there, and I got both of them on video. But the amount of work these guys pour into this custom stuff is it's amazing.
And especially that replica that they have of the Pennsylvania T1 duplex that they have on their main layout.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's cool.
And since we're actually on the topic of the Pennsylvania T1, I heard that there's a little bit of a fundraiser out there that's currently trying to raise. I don't like to use the word raise twice in a row, but they're trying to raise money to try to make a replica, not necessarily a replica, but an actual size, reproduction of the T1 duplex, and it's coming out in 2035. So a little bit too far in advance, if you ask me, but I'm not really ready for 2035 just yet. But I feel like the more time that they can take on, making sure that everything looks right and functions right, then, hopefully they'll be able to get a really great product out on the main line the next couple of years to come.
Yeah, I mean, I've been hearing some stuff about that myself.
I mean, so far they got the boiler front, but the only thing they have to do left is to work on the rest of the engine. Then you got the drive rods and the front pilot and the tender. I don't know which is going to be more challenging, the engine or the tender. I mean, both of them were pretty gigantic back in the day, if you ask me.
Yeah, yeah, they're both going to be a lot of work, that's for sure.
I'm also I'm also a member of another train club known as the Lewis Junction Bridge Association. It's a small type of organization where we go around the country and collecting, lots of vintage railway equipment. We have like a little facility in Georgetown where we kind of, where we kind of like hang on to a lot of our merchandise, such as some box cars. We had a baggage car at one point. We also had like a small size burrow crane, and
Oh wow!
that was that was also where we kind of worked on our main project, which was an M5C Pennsylvania caboose, which is currently sitting up at a little section of track right up next to our main library, which is in downtown Lewis. So even though that we got the caboose down there and all painted up and decorated, our next project is going to be trying to raise some money to bring the locomotive down, which is going to be our next objective. because the engine, it's not only is it sitting up on a siding in Wilmington, it's actually one of the last remaining Pennsylvania B6 locomotives in existence.
Oh wow.
Mm-hmm. So it's going to take us maybe another year and a half or so to try to transport the engine down there and try to get it down to the library in Lewis. And once we get it down to the library, we're going to move the caboose down to the other end of the track, which we have it displayed on. And therefore, the engine is going to take the caboose's place, where it's going to sit right in front of the track, which is more closer to the library. And then the caboose is going to go all the way towards the other end of the line of track that we have.
Nice.
I know what you all are thinking. It was a really big mouthful that I had to put in one sentence, but I guarantee you it's definitely a lot of information that you guys are not going to forget.
What is the right budget set for going to a train show? Okay, so it depends on what you want to buy, actually, and what you're into. You know, if you're into scale trains like me, I mean, it can get very expensive pretty fast. So, a scale size, Lionel scale size train, freight car can go for $100. Now, sometimes you can buy Atlas O stuff. They're pretty cheap, which is one of my favorite brands. So I've seen Atlas O anywhere from $35 to $55. Another YouTube friend of mine, Dave from DA Griffin, he goes to train shows with only $30. He does a $30 train show challenge,
Mm-hmm.
and he finds these different trains which are semi-scale, but he comes home with some cool stuff for only going to a show for $30.
That's right.
So it all depends on what you're into. Generally speaking, I'll go there with no more than $100, so I don't spend. I don't go crazy. You know what I mean? Especially if you have pre-orders out there, because with Lionel pre-orders or any pre-order actually, whether it's Lionel, Atlas, MTH, you do these pre-orders and you never know when they'll come in, and so if you buy this stuff at the train show, next thing you know, 2 weeks from now, you're getting an announcement. You got 4 or 5 things coming in, and they need payment, and that's not a situation when you want to get yourself into either. So I would say anywhere from $30 to $100. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean that's always a very fair price range, all things considered. But like you said, Dave, doing his $30 challenge, he really knows his stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He's a really great guy. Me and my dad actually ran into Dave a couple of times at the York show. So
yeah, I mean sometimes he's going over because he's seen something he really wanted, but for the most part he tries to stick with the $30 challenge.
Especially if it's something that's Pennsylvania related that Nick over at Nick's Crossing might point out to him.
Oh yeah, and Nick's another one. He's a budget minded shopper too.
Mm-hmm. So, as am I. Now, usually I don't really buy any of the newer Lionel engines that are coming out. I mostly just like with Dave or Nick or some of the other guys that I follow online. I'm kind of like I'm in the same boat as them. I'm more of a budget-friendly type of collector. If it's something that's not usually discussed about online, or if it's something that I don't really see too often that might struck a little bit of appeal to me, then I'll definitely buy it. I mean, there's, like everybody says, there's no right or wrong on whether on the item that you might be interested in or something that it's not really expensive, or if it doesn't have all the bells and whistles and such. As long as you really enjoy it as a whole, then you should really go for it.
Yeah, that's why I do a lot of my videos are based on kind of hay rail, the high rail layout that you guys are seeing here in the video, and sometimes you get comments, yeah, the Lionel Legacy, it's a lot of money and stuff, and it is, But people don't realize that I also have a traditional layout as well. So I have MPC era locomotives. So I have both worlds here.
It's always nice. And don't even get me started on the price range for the new Lionel triplex that's coming out. I mean, that's not what we're really here to discuss about when it comes to prices and such. We're mostly just here to talk about the positive than the negative.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. When I'm shopping for trains or locomotives, if it's something I really want, I'll Mr. Muffins is one of the dealers that I buy from, and he's got a great layaway plan. So if you can't afford something or something's a little bit much money, we're all on a budget these days because of the way things are going. But
Mm.
he's got this layaway plan. So you sign up for this layaway plan. Uh, I think it's like 3 payments, and then you don't even have to call him. He sends it to you automatically once the last payment's made. And I've used that layaway plan plenty of times.
I love layaway.
It's the only way that we could afford most of what we get.
Hmm. Or if you might, or even if you might want to make a trade with somebody, that's also kind of an option.
Oh yeah, trading is good. Yep, I've done a couple trades. I might have something that I changed my mind on and trade for somebody for something else. But my next eye on of a purchase for a locomotive is going to be the Lionel Conrail SD50 with the yellow ribbon.
Well, that's going to be a nice one.
Yeah, I already have the matching box car for it. Train Fest in Milwaukee. That's it. But I don't think it compares to York. Yeah, I never been to Train Fest in Milwaukee. I heard it was pretty big, but I did hear this year it was canceled. I'm not sure why. Um, I think it was canceled for the first time ever this year. Uh, I have seen videos from the show. Now, the show last year, some people were saying there was more layouts than there were vendors. So, but it's always cool to have that mix of layouts and vendors together, I think. Dakman, do you hear from? I haven't heard from Finder Craig in a long time. A couple other people have been asking about him because they haven't heard from him either. Um, but yeah, I haven't had contact with him in quite some time. He chose more for model railroaders. O-Gauge is more for collectors.
I mean, you can at least have it like either way. I mean, it's no.
Yeah. I mean,
Like I said, it's no right or wrong.
yeah. I've seen some wonderful HO layouts out there.
So, what are your thoughts on not only just the HO engines that Lionel has been coming out with, but what's your thoughts and opinions on the new train sets that Menards is coming out with?
Well, I have a couple Menards cars, and I think Menards is a great budget way of getting into O-Gauge, is my opinion. I mean, if you're looking for something new, brand new, out of the box, that's not been pre-owned, Menards, you might want to look at it. Now, you got to understand what you're paying for, so you're not going to get the level of detail that you would get with other stuff. I've heard sometimes you might buy something and the wheels are out of gauge, but everything that I've heard of is been fixable, and they seem to be really working hard on getting the locomotives in a way that I think you're going to see Menards give Lionel a run for its money here in the future, because it seems like they come out these locomotives, and people will give them feedback, and then they'll do another one with the improvements. They just keep improving upon it, and I think sooner or later, you're going to see like maybe a K line equivalent. So that's what I think about Menards. I think their buildings are wonderful.
Most definitely wonderful. Yes.
Yeah, it just blows me away with the level of detail and the amount of lights. I mean, you couldn't build something for what they're charging. By the time you add your time, the lights, and all that stuff, it's crazy. And
and also, like you said, with negative feedback, that also really comes in handy for them, because
yeah,
I feel like that's the one thing that Lionel is kind of struggling with these days, because it feels like they're just kind of like making, I don't want to say like making stuff up, but it's kind of like it's almost like they got like a machine to do all the work for them that comes up with these crazy ideas. I'm not saying that's what they do, but that's what it kind of feels like to me. And that's at the same time, you kind of think to yourself, how much, work do you think that Lionel, not just how much work, but how much effort are they really putting into their locomotives today versus back then? Like you mentioned with the MPC era, and then you have the engines for the 80s and 90s up to the early 2000s, right before when Lionel sold all their merchandise to Korea and
yeah.
China.
And they also moved some manufacturing over to Vietnam, and that's where you get into some issues with the trucks and some other quality issues. But hopefully, with some of the negative feedback they got from that, they make improvements in the Vietnam factory. And the manufacturers have to take the criticism to make improvements. That's what Menards has been doing. They take this feedback and they improve upon the model. I think, what are we, like on version 3 or 4 on the F3 now?
I think we might be about at least towards maybe 4 or 5, if my memory serves me correctly.
Right. So every time they come out with this beta testing, they take it in stride and they make these improvements, and I think that's a great thing.
Especially with the horn with those F3 units, because I think the previous version that they came out, when you blow the horn, after you release the button, the horn starts to fade away. I really wish they could have done that with the bell as well, but I'm more than happy that they kind of made those modifications with the horn versus the bell. But with the train sets that are coming out, I feel like they forgot to do that for the engines that came with the sets themselves. So it feels like they're almost kind of like back to square one again when it comes to the sound system.
Yeah, but I'm not sure. I don't have one that I've been able to test, but I would like to see the long term durability of the locomotive, um, just to see how well it holds up. Now, getting back to your other question, you asked me about the Lionel HO and what I thought about that. And the viewers see that I've gotten involved with shooting videos of other scales like HO and so doing that, I got to know quite a few different HO scale clubs. And the feedback I get from them is they are in the world. They like the world of DCC. So Lionel HO is running on a Railchief app or remote instead of DCC. So that's one of the downfalls of why it's not being widely accepted in HO. But the model itself looks good. I mean, I've seen one member out of everybody, all the HO clubs. I've only seen one member running Lionel HO, and from what I've seen, the locomotive itself looks great. But I think maybe they missed out on. Maybe perhaps they should have introduced it with DCC instead.
Hmm.
There you go. That's a true statement there.
Have you ever thought about collecting Mark's trains?
Well, I didn't grow up in that era. That post-war Marks was all my dad's era, and so since I started off with MPC, I never grew any kind of attachment or interest in post-war or Marks. Even to this day, I would, uh, I would go out and get MPC, but not that there anything wrong with the Marks or post-war, no, but it's just something that I just didn't have growing up with, so I didn't have any kind of attachment with it.
I'm actually starting to develop a little bit of a slow interest in Marx engines. I feel like some of them are kind of, better looking than others. I would say that probably the best looking Marx type engine that they ever had was the post-war 333 New York Central Pacific locomotive, which came with the tin plate New York Central pacemaker box car. It also had the tank car, the gondola, and the caboose. And then it also had a set of aluminum streamlined New York Central passenger cars to go with it. But also, to be fair, if this was actually an option, I'm not sure if this is or not, but if I did have those cars in my collection, and if I did have the Lionel post-war 221 Dreyfus Hudson, I would take one of those passenger cars, flip them over, maybe modify the truck, and put a good old knuckle coupler on it to be more compatible with the Lionel. And therefore, I would have a very sharp looking 20th Century Limited semi-scale train set.
Yeah, and for those who are Marks fans out there, if you guys are like Marks, I would highly recommend visiting the TCA Toy Train Museum out there in Ronks, Pennsylvania, because they got a huge collection of Marks trains out there that you can see.
Some of their diesels are pretty nice too. And
Yeah,
if there was actually one Marx car that I would really like to get, it would be the New York Central crane car with the spotlight on top. I think that looks really sharp.
yeah,
It might not be the most realistic car that they ever made, but it's definitely one of the nicest ones that they ever came out with.
definitely. There you
I
go.
take around 100. My wife makes it 300 by the end of the day.
Well, that's always cool if the wife is shopping with you.
It's always nice to have some participation from the lady who might be standing next to you.
Right. I only okay. Wow, been a year.
I would like to see the MTH layout that brought among other MTH things that whatever
That
that
he got, yeah. So,
that he got.
yeah. So Train Finder Craig ended up buying a MTH, the MTH layout from the auction, the one that they had at their headquarters, and he's going to get it up and running again. But I haven't heard from him. And according to Slagcat, he hasn't heard from him for over a year. So hopefully he's okay.
Lionel H online is a massive joke. Again, not going to get into that. I wonder if Vision Line stuff will still run as good as pre-war does after 90 years in existence. I like Marks, but they don't like Lionel switches.
Thanks, Gus.
That's basically what our job is tonight here, guys. Just hanging out, being cool, and most importantly, talking about the world's greatest hobby here.
Yep, model trains. Yeah, Craig got the showroom layout. That is correct. From MTH. Yeah, I would like to have seen him get that up and running again. And for those of you who are on here and think MTH is dead, they're not. They were at York. I actually took a video interview with them to prove to the people who are always saying online, it just drive me crazy. Oh yeah, we're not buying anything MTH because you ain't gonna get parts. It's like what? It's like they're still around. They just downsized a little bit.
I even tuned into that video myself.
So, um,
So
yeah,
once you see it, you'll definitely believe it. Trust us.
I just had to do that interview just because it was driving crazy of people posting on Facebook and other social media that MTH was dead and you weren't going to get any parts. I mean, granted, maybe their DCS system isn't out yet as promised, but they're still providing parts. They're still got new products that are coming out. If you watch that interview video, he explains that you got to get on a newsletter and the email. If sign up for on the email for the newsletter if you want to see the new product released every week because they're not doing a catalog right now.
Mm-hmm. And for what he also mentioned in your video, that catalogs are very expensive to make these days.
Oh
Versus
yeah, anything paper, catalog is expensive to make. Um, it's just a big cost to that. And even though did they sell uh, stuff? Yeah, I mean, they sold molds to Lionel, they sold molds to Atlas O. But for those who may have missed it, there's a little bit of the joint venture between Atlas O and MTH now. Matter of fact, I did an interview with Atlas O as well at York. I didn't get this on video. However, they did say that in the future, off for future releases of Atlas Master Series locomotives are going away from TMCC and going all Proto 3 sounds and controls. So even though they're doing a premiere, they are going to come back out with the Master Series locomotives, they are actually looking at doing that. So everybody thinks that just because they bought the MTH Premier molds, that Atlas O is going to give up on their own products, and that's not true. So talking to those two guys, they gave me a lot of information. They said, nope, we're in the talks now of coming out with the past Atlas O Master Series locomotives, like the Alco Century series that people have been asking for and stuff like that. So there's a lot of things coming through with Atlas O. They got a new crew in there of guys that want to push product out. They're hobbyists like you and me. They're great to talk to, and they put on a great interview.
They sure do. And they also, from what I can remember, they also came out with some newer models of the N-Track Genesis and different paint schemes.
Yep, and they're I believe they're coming back out with the concrete tie track as well. For those who want concrete tie track, so they're just always advancing. They're doing pretty good. They're coming out with another run of their Gunderson Autoracks because they sold out so fast. So they are doing them again. So there's a lot of plans that they're pushing forward.
And I know that this is kind of like a new topic that's kind of floating out there since probably like Tuesday or Wednesday. But do you think that we ever might see a paint scheme for the Empire Builder in the new New York Central 20th Century Limited paint scheme that they just announced a couple of days ago?
I'm not sure. I mean, it's hard to tell what manufacturers will do and won't do. We can always speculate, but it's without somebody saying, "Okay, yeah, we're going to do it." I don't generally like to speculate too much, too far out, but but I do, like I said, I do know that Atlas did say they're definitely going to come back out with past master line locomotives over again because they know that they're in demand.
I mean, I could definitely see, Atlas coming out with that version of the Genesis first versus some of the other companies like Lionel or MTH.
Yeah. But once they do, they I asked them why they were getting away from the TMCC and the Atlas Master Series because that's the way it's always been. And they said there was a big expense difference between TMCC and DCS.
Hmm.
So they understand that we're on a budget and they want to try and keep their trains within a reasonable amount of cost.
And also
So,
keep family friendly at the same time.
right. So by going DCS, they're saving themselves money and they're saving us money.
That's true.
I have not made it to a Pittsburgh train show. It's quite a ride for me.
Same.
Yeah, so it would be too far of a ride for me. I mean, when I go to Edison or when I go even to Allentown this weekend, those places are 2 hours away. So I'm driving 2 hours there and 2 hours home, uh, and then spending the day shooting video. But the Pittsburgh train show is pretty far away. One of the layouts I always wanted to see was the Pittsburgh area high railers, and they finally came to the Timonium show. I think it was 2 shows ago, and they had a wonderful layout. And I finally got to see the layout. I was so happy to actually see them because I've seen videos of that layout at the Pittsburgh train show,
Mhm.
but I always wanted to see it in person. There is a difference between seeing something in my video and then seeing it in person. It's just if you can make it to these shows and support them, I would, even though you see it in my video, I would highly recommend coming because that's why I'm putting this out here. Hopefully, encouraging people to attend.
That's almost just like interacting with somebody for the first time that you may not have interact with before in your entire life. You might have met them online or somewhere, but you know, like you said, it's always better to interact with somebody or that particular item that you might be interested in for the first time in person versus things you might see like online or you might read about in a newspaper and such.
Yeah, definitely.
But just talking about those Greenberg shows are really bringing back a whole lot of memories for me.
Yeah, I mean the Greenberg shows. The ones I normally go to are Edison. Oaks is like in my backyard, just about. I like the Oaks show. I go to the Wilmington one at the Chase Waterfront Center. Um, so there's also one in Timonium, Maryland, but that's on a much smaller scale. That's a real small one.
Hmm.
Greenberg show there. And but if you're into HO, the Great Scale Train Show is a good show to attend because there's a lot of HO based stuff there.
I mean, if you guys out there are really big, Jersey boys like me and Sean here, then the Greenberg show is definitely the one place to go.
Yeah, yeah. I never miss a Greenberg show. It's always fun time. Great vendors. Use this Edison show coming up. I know for sure that Just Trains will be there, and I'm thinking that Brady's Trains might even be there this time around. Um, and usually there's at least 2 O gauge layouts running.
Nice. My hobby store here in Central Florida, MTH dealer, stays busy selling MTH. I bought a couple of things a while back, autographed by Mike Wolf. Oh, wait, wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, it is.
I'm pretty sure that all of us out there really miss when Mike Wolf was the owner of MTH.
Yeah. Didn't Atlas announce Horizons back in 2020? Yeah, I mean, I think you're right, and I'll give you a little bit of a short story here. So I pre-ordered um I pre-ordered Atlas O Conrail hopper cars, the Trinity hoppers, and I knowing that they were going to be fantasy pieces, but I didn't care because I wanted them because I thought they were cool. And I waited and I waited and I waited. And I thought, I was going to be dead before I even seen them. So I gave up on it. And lo and behold, 3 years later, I got an invoice for those hopper cars. So it, Atlas ran into a little issue with the factory that they produce in their master line and Trainman series.
Mm-hmm.
So unfortunately, they had to do when you change factories in China. I don't know if people are familiar with that. When you go from one factory to another, it takes forever to gather up all the tooling to move it to a different factory and to make sure. And if you're missing one mold, just one mold, that's going to hold up the production to make the whole entire piece. That's
Ouch.
how that's how it's explained to me.
Okay, so we've been on for at least like an hour now. So do you maybe want to do a little bit more of the Q&A for another 15 minutes, and maybe we can run some trains around for everybody else that's watching?
Sure. Yeah, Atlas should pick up the pace a little bit. They're trying. Like I said, the factory, what happened in the factory set them back a lot. But they did say they got plenty of track in stock now because they knew that was an issue. So they said they got so much track. They're encouraging everybody to go ahead and start building the layouts. They're not going to run out.
I know that Lionel's really ahead of schedule this time with the new Vision Line Big Boys that just came out, so that's a really good sign.
Yeah, yeah. Those trains and Brady's are good ones. Yep. Did he sell the company to Andy? Andy, I think, is they hired him on Atlaso. Hired him on as a for the DCS part of it.
Living in Texas, I think everything is bigger except the train shows. LOL. I guess I need a long road trip.
That's the thing is, I guess I'm kind of like spoiled because I hear a lot of comments from other people who live in other places that say, we don't even have train shows. So I'm just thinking to myself, all this most of the time is like, there's train shows in no matter what state you live in, but that's not true at all. So I live in South Jersey, so it just makes it in an area where there just happens to be quite a few train shows going on. I got some Trainman cabooses. Yeah, they're nice. The difference between the Atlas O Trainman and the Master Series is the Master Series cabooses actually have a full interior in them, and you can actually take the roof off. There's actual instructions in there, shows you how to take the roof off, so you can see all that detail in there. Queen City High Rail layout will be operating at the retirement center this weekend. All right.
Is that what's going to? Oh, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah. Is Atlas going to put DCS in their train along with the premiere? Yes. So I did talk to them. Like I said, future Atlas O Trainman and future Atlas O Master Series will also have DCS along with the premiere. They are getting away from TMCC because it's gotten too expensive, and they realize people are trying to pinch the pennies a little bit. So everything across the board in the future will be all DCS.
I hate to even imagine what the Cab 3 system is going to be.
Yeah.
Pennsylvania is the land for railroads. Couldn't agree more with that.
Oh, yeah.
Their locomotives. Railchief, you and Dakman probably the best live stream you've had. I'm a diesel guy, and the Dakman guy I watch all his videos.
Yeah,
Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, thanks. People know that I'm a big fan of diesel. Always have been. I don't hate steam, so don't get that idea. But I've been a diesel guy. I'm a diesel mechanic by trade, so that's why diesels are always my thing.
I'm actually the opposite. I like a lot of the old fashioned steam locomotives and streamliners. I got nothing against diesel locomotives. I do love a good old fashioned diesel locomotive like the F3 or the E8s or the GP7s or Trainmasters. But the modern day type of engines is pretty much just it's more or less just kind of rinse and repeat for me when it comes to their designs. I can really care less about them. But the one thing I think they're really improving on is that they're adding a lot more heritage units. Like for Norfolk Southern, you're getting a lot of Jersey Central, Pennsylvania, New York Central units. And then with companies like New Jersey Transit, you might get Jersey Central, you might get Erie Lackawanna or this railroad or that railroad or the Erie Railway. And then with Union Pacific or BNSF or CSX, which are currently coming out with their heritage units as well. They got Chesapeake in Ohio. They got the Virginian Railway. They got Southern, Wabash, Western Pacific, the Katy Railway, not Texas and Pacific, Texas Special. They got Southern Pacific, and I think I just said the Virginia Railway already. But there's also a couple of other road names out there that are just kind of blanking my mind at the moment. But I think that's something that they're really improving on today because they're starting to realize not only what's old is new again, but they're really touching upon that nostalgia at the same time.
Yeah. I didn't know if people wanted like a little short tour of before we got started running trains too.
Okay.
So I can give you guys like what I'll do is I'll use my cell phone, which is in that last screen that you're seeing with that side shot. And I'll show you guys around a little bit here. I'll be able to hear you, but I got that phone on mute. But I'll still be able to hear you if you're asking questions on the laptop.
I actually do have an interesting question from the Cloverdale Minot Scale Model Railroad.
Okay.
Which mentions Railchief. What does the 74% on your account mean? Well, it doesn't really mean anything. I mean, just like with what Joshua Lionel Cowan once said when he was starting his own company, he was always like, I had to call it something. So I thought that the 74 added a really nice ring to the last name of my YouTube account.
Yeah, that's one of the most common questions I got is how I came up with my name. So the Dakman. But people know now, as one of the viewers had already mentioned, is the Dakman name came from a tow truck driver friend of mine. I was working for a trucking company. We would always have lunch together. And during lunchtime, I would always talk about Mack trucks and Dodge cars. And one day, the tow truck driver comes in and he says, "Hey, Dakman, how you doing today?" I'm like, Dakman, how'd you come up with that? He said, "You like Dodge cars and Mack trucks, Dakman." I'm like, so it's stuck.
That's almost like when McDonald's came into business. I'm pretty sure that the McDonald brothers probably thought the same thing. Like, we have to call like our business something. You just couldn't call it, Chi-Chi's or Morocco or whatever.
Yeah. But if you guys would like, I can give you a little tour around the Dakman Studios, that I would call it. Because when you guys see my videos, you only see part of this and part of that. I think I've only made actually one full tour video of my own my own area, but the idea before I start, the idea came from I like going to trade shows, obviously, and hobby shops and visiting there. So when the showstopper happened, because I don't want to say it and get your video demonetized, because YouTube doesn't like it when you say the C word. But during the C19 years when things were shut down, I wanted to have stuff in a way that it reminded me of being at a train show when there wasn't one happening. So when you see me do a tour, you'll see all that set up in a way like basically you're at a train show. So all right, so here we go. I'm gonna grab my camera.
Hold on to your hat. Hold on to your hats and glasses, guys, because we're in for a special treat tonight. And while we're doing that, I'm gonna have to excuse myself for just a minute, but don't worry, I'm still gonna be on. I just want to turn off my camera here so that way you guys don't see me sneaking off set here.
No problem. All right, so this is my traditional layout, and sorry if there is an echo. So this is all my MPC era stuff.
Very nice. I also love how you have those Lionel-inspired cabinets on the bottom there that are painted orange and blue. I think that's a really nice touch. Very cool. It's nice to see you got a lot of the original catalogs there too. Got a lot of
this is stuff that you don't normally see in my videos.
Got a lot of those purple and yellow boxes there too from MTH. Now, what's the deal with that that Conrail engine that you have on the table there? That's, you know, one part of it's spray, one part of it is kind of, you know, the usual Conrail paint scheme, and then the rest of it is spray painted black.
There's a funny story behind that. So, for those who know, me and Walter Herbine of the Train Shop Weekly Show on YouTube go back and forth because he's Reading and I'm Conrail. So I always tease him about Reading going Conrail. So one time during the Run for Fun, he came up with the Conrail going to Norfolk Southern, just to tease me back.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually presented this to me as a present. And I
Really?
Oh yeah.
So I guess what you're saying is it was kind of like a not like a model, but kind of like a mock-up of when Conrail was being taken over by Norfolk Southern. Is what you're trying to explain?
Yes, correct. So
okay.
Here we have a Conrail that's being painted black because it's going to Norfolk Southern, which is what happened when Conrail was finally, sold off between Norfolk Southern and CSX.
Very nice. You know what? It actually would be cool is that I'm not sure if you have this on your layout or not, but I think it would be really interesting if you had um, like a little painter shop where you have like the guys with their spray cans and their little airbrushes, and have like a little animation of where it gives the illusion that the guy is actually painting the outside of the locomotive.
It's funny you mentioned that because Kalon actually made that.
Hmm. I know they had the one with the Union Pacific boxcar where they have like they had the car on the track, and then they had like that giant stencil in the front, and it kind of gave the illusion that they're trying to paint the Union Pacific logo on the actual car.
So I mentioned my very first train set, which I still have. And this is it right here. It's on a special table.
Very nice. And here we have the main attraction of the entire show, ladies and gentlemen. It's a nice little town area. Very nice. I really like that gas station there. That MTH gas station. So you got a Conrail light up LED sign there in the back. So you also got a lot of auto carriers. Got the switch tower. That MTH water tower is also a really nice piece too. Got a nice looking Coca-Cola trailer right there. And apparently a Coca-Cola sign too. I really do love me some, I really do love a lot of Coca-Cola merchandise myself. All right, Dave. Well, thanks again for joining us tonight. We hope to talk to you again soon as well. Got a nice looking control panel there. And if you guys ever watch Sean's videos, you know how much he's a really big Conrail fanatic. So the width and the length of my layout, I'll get to in just a few minutes. I just want to give Sean a chance here to give us a little bit of a tour of his layout first before we go ahead and talk about that. Very nice. We got the Atlas collection there. Got a nice assortment of rolling stock and freight cars, as well as the engines.
Now, everything in this room are all building kits that I put together, either a Maritime or some other type of kits.
Very nice.
And this is my cargo transfer facility that transfers corn syrup.
I feel like I can look at this layout all day of yours, Sean.
So, as somebody already mentioned, I do have Hollywood cars on here, and that's what these cards are all about. Because I would have guests that wouldn't recognize what the movie card was. So each card that's next to the car explains what movie and the year the movie was made. So here we have the Hollywood movie Mad Max. This is the V8 Police Interceptor, the last of the V8s. Australian movie, 1979.
Very nice. I'm actually friends with somebody, not just on Instagram, but also Facebook. He's kind of working on a couple of projects where he bought like a bunch of DeLorean cars, and he's going to be modifying them. Not only are they going to be having like the swinging doors that go up and down, but they're also going to have the little blinking lights inside to mimic the flux capacitor that they had in the Back to the Future movies.
Yeah, I'm a big movie fan. So when it comes to vehicles, and I always wanted to have the vehicles from those movies. So this is the next best thing of doing that. But you'll notice, like, at least 80% of the vehicles are from a movie on my list.
Nice. Okay, so since we've been on for at least like an hour and 30 minutes, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a quick overview of my layout here. And this, I know I've used StreamYard a couple of times, on the channel here, but I'm not really too sure how much time we have on the actual live stream itself. So let's go ahead and get the little tour out of the way here. Let me just turn my camera around. That's not it. Oh, better yet, let me just do this. Back up just a little bit. So just to give you guys the basic idea, if my camera is not moving back and forth so much, this is my entire layout here. Both of them are two 4x8 tables that are kind of just put together to create one giant layout that doesn't really have a whole lot of train action, but there is a lot of accessories and a whole lot of animation. And here I did a little bit of redesigning on the inner loop here, where I have the tie ejector and the fire car. Also got some post-war accessories like the banjo signal. I got the magnetic crane and the 138 water tower in the back over there. And that junkyard right next to the crane here, that's also a little something that I scratch built as well.
Cool.
And if you look inside, It's all just a bunch of assortment of junk Lionel parts that I couldn't, that I no longer could use. So instead of just completely throwing these things, I thought they might serve a purpose here on the layout, considering you don't really see a whole lot of junkyards being modeled on any toy train layout today.
That's true. You don't.
So Menards, if you guys are watching this video right now, you might want to think about taking some consideration on making that dream a reality for some of us out there. And then we have the other layout in the back here, which is kind of a mixture between toy, traditional, and scale-like. The scenery is scale, but the track and most of the other accessories are mostly traditional, such as my dad's barn, the plastic built barn with the little fencing. And I got some Lionel and Woodland Scenics figures in there, such as cows and workers. I also have the windmill here, which is actually a Hallmark accessory. Not technically an accessory, but more like a decoration piece.
That looks good, though. I like that.
I also got the K-line backhoe accessory where the scoop comes out and it gives the illusion that it's digging a hole into the center of the accessory there. There we go.
I had that same white church.
Now, the church here is actually something that I also had to restore a little while back because, me and my dad had this church for quite a number of years, but I never really got a chance to restore it. But thankfully, at not just the York show, but at one of the rummage sales that we had at the club, I was fortunate enough to find a couple of replacement pieces. And so now the only thing I just have to do is clean this thing up just a little bit and then cut out the little window decoration out of the old plastic pieces and glue them to the inside of this one. And right over on that side here, there we go. We have that Blockbuster building that I mentioned about earlier before in the video. That's scratch built as well. Again, don't want to give away too much because I'm not really too sure how much time we have left on the live stream.
You got a lot going on for that layout.
Mm-hmm. I tend to usually take inspiration from not only a lot of the YouTube train channels out there, but a lot of the model railroaders that I grew up watching from the TM Books and Video series, like Great Toy Train Layouts of America or Toy Train Review or I Love Toy Trains, the Lionel Nation series, and so many others, which I can't really name at the top of my head. But that's pretty much that. So now that we've been on for at least like an hour and 30 minutes, we're going to go ahead and start up both of our layouts here. So Sean, what are some of the engines that you have chosen to run on the live stream tonight?
All right, so I have lined up. I knew people would want to see something steam, and I do own one steam locomotive, which is a Lionel Legacy Camelback Central Jersey number 774. My own opinion, the most famous Central Jersey Camelback. It actually ran through my town in 1954 on its last excursion. And so this train has a special meaning to me. I was able to find one photo of it in my town with the Central Jersey passenger cars, and if it cooperates, I do have a Conrail train that I already had set up from my last video, which is not out yet, but it is a all Lionel Conrail train.
Very nice. And then as for me, I am going to be mostly running some of the items that I picked up at York. Again, I don't want to really give too much away, But if you guys have watched my latest review video, you know that I'm going to be running my post-war celebration series 773 Hudson, which you currently see on the layout here. I also got my Lionel number 3 Norfolk Southern tie ejector, which has TMCC. I also do have a car that I made myself from a not just the junk pile, but some of the other manufacturers that I visited while me and my dad were at the York show this October. Now, this is a 9710 Rutland MPC boxcar, which I kind of made myself. It's got the MPC Rutland boxcar shell, but the positive side, it has metal trucks and couplers, which they were also selling separately.
Oh, wow.
So this is kind of like more or less a hybrid car that I put together.
Okay.
And then behind that, I got my 3512 fire car with the animated fireman and a little 6017 brown Tuscan caboose. And then finally on the second layout, it's a little hard to see, but I'm going to be running my Lionel post-war 2338 Milwaukee Road GP7 with some post-war expired pieces of rolling stock, including a brand new 64-400 Baltimore and Ohio boxcar that I got at the show as well. And then finally, up on the bridge over here, I have the 52 Lionel fire car, which is going to be operating for us here and there throughout the rest of the video here.
I think those are cool. I like those fire cars.
The only thing I have to do with it cosmetically is to eventually try to replace the brushes and get the armature cleaned up a little bit better, so that way it functions, so that way it operates much better on the bumper section.
Well, okay.
Okay, so if it's all the same with you guys, I'm going to go ahead and start everything up. But before we do that, I just wanted to thank Sean again for joining us tonight. It was such a great, not just a great pleasure, but it's also been an honor having him with us on the channel tonight. So, Sean, I just wanted to thank you again for joining me. And for the rest of you guys, hope you all enjoyed the rest of the video here. And we're going to be on for the next couple of, maybe the next 30 minutes or so. So I hope you enjoyed the running session here.
All righty. I'll get started.
Oh, I see you got a Jersey Central Camel back there. I have one too.
Yeah, that's the only steam locomotive I own.
Now, guessing by the yellow handrails that it has, I'm guessing that's probably the newer one then.
Yeah, they actually painted those handrails yellow just for that last excursion. So they weren't always yellow, but when he had the last excursion before it got scrapped, they painted it all yellow.
Looks nice.
Thanks.
All right, let's go ahead and get the 773 running here.
take the main to the next interlocking. Hold the main and we'll hoop orders past the tower. Train orders say holding the siding until 44 clears, and we can take the main. Should be through any minute. for number 9. She's running about 20 minutes late.
Hi, Ozzy. Hi, little sunshine. Good boy. Good boy, Ozzy. Boy, Ozzy. Good job, little Ozzy. Let's get a nice close-up look and a good shot for you guys here. Thanks for stopping by. All right. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I think I kind of overstayed my welcome here.
You guys getting out here a little bit. Long train from
I am as well. Plus, I kind of have to get up, not exactly earlier tomorrow than what I usually do. It's just I don't want to be too tired for tomorrow morning. So, Sean, I just wanted to thank you again for joining me tonight. It was such a great pleasure having you on the channel with me tonight, and we hope to have you again at some point in the near future. So, once again, thanks again for joining us.
And thank you for having me on the show. Hope to see you at the train show sometime. And make sure you guys subscribe to Railchief 74. He does some great stuff.
Thanks, Sean. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out Sean's layout and YouTube channel, I'll make sure to leave that in the link down in the description as well. So once again, we hope that you all had a really great night hanging out with us tonight on the live stream. And hopefully we'll get a chance to catch up with you all next week, because me and my good friend Art from Art's Model Trains are hoping to go live again at some point next week as well. So make sure to keep an eye out for that.
All right.
But until then, thank you all for joining once again. Have a good night, and we hope to see you all next week. Take care, guys.
We'll see you.